The red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Sarah Chun's boots as she stood at the edge of the excavation pit. Her team had been digging for 3 months, following signals that made no sense according to any geology she knew. The scanner in her hand buzzed again, insistent and strange. "We've hit something," called Marcus Webb from below. His voice echoed up through the artificial atmosphere dome. "Sarah, you need to see this." She climbed down the ladder, her heart beating faster with each rung. At the bottom, half her team stood in a circle around something that gleamed with colors that seemed wrong somehow. Not metallic, not stone. Something that shifted between states of matter as she watched. "What is it?" she asked. "We don't know," Marcus said. His dark eyes were wide behind his helmet visor. "But it's old, really old. The dating puts it at least 15 million years before any civilization we've ever found evidence of." Sarah knelt beside the object. It was roughly cube-shaped, about the size of a small car, and it hummed with a frequency she felt in her bones more than heard. When she reached out to touch it, the surface felt warm and somehow alive. "It's a data storage device," said Lynn Park, their technology specialist. She was running every scanner they had over the surface. Quantum encrypted, self-powered, and Sarah, it's still active. It's been sitting here for millions of years, and it's still working. The team worked for 6 more weeks to safely extract and transport the cube to their research facility. When they finally cracked the encryption, what they found made Sarah's blood run cold. The archive contained records from 47 different alien species. Each record was like a time capsule, a final testament from a dying civilization. The team spent months translating and cataloging. Each species told a different story of their end. The Carthene had burned their world with nuclear fire. The Voss had been consumed by a plague they created in their own laboratories. The Methrin had uploaded themselves into machines and lost their souls in the process. The Aetheris had simply stopped breeding, lost in virtual paradises until the last of them died alone. 40-7 species. 47 different dooms. But as Sarah read deeper, she found the pattern every single record, no matter how different. The circumstances of death contained one repeated warning. Sometimes it was the last line. Sometimes it was scattered throughout the text. Sometimes it was written over and over, like the final mad scratching of a dying hand. "Council only feigns sleep. The Council sleeps but watches. The Council's sleep is a lie. Beware the sleeping Council." 47 warnings. 47 extinct species. All pointing to the same thing. Sarah called her team together in the conference room. She projected the warnings on the wall, each one in its original alien script with translations below. "This makes no sense," said Marcus. "We know the Galactic Council. They're real. We've met them. They've been nothing but helpful to humanity." It was true. Humanity had made first contact with the Council 20 years ago. The Council was a coalition of ancient alien races that governed most of known space. They had welcomed humanity with open arms. They had shared technology, established trade agreements, and offered protection from the more dangerous species in the galaxy. The Council members themselves were beings of such age and wisdom that human diplomats often felt like children in their presence. There were the harmonists, graceful beings of light and crystal, the stone speakers, ancient and patient as mountains, the veil walkers who moved between dimensions, all of them kind, all of them peaceful. "Maybe it's a coincidence," Lynn suggested, "or a shared mythology. Lots of cultures have similar stories." But Sarah couldn't let it go. She started cross-referencing the dates. When had each species died? When had they first made contact with the Council? The archive provided timestamps based on universal radioactive decay markers. What she found made her wake Marcus at 3 a.m. "Look at this," she said, spreading the data across his tablet. "The Carthene made contact with the Council in their year 8450. They were destroyed in year 8623. That's 173 years later." "Okay," Marcus said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "And the Voss, first contact in cycle 2340, extinction in cycle 2398, 58 years." The Methrin. Contact in age 45. Extinction in age 47, 200 years. Marcus, every single species. In this archive achieved full council membership status between 50 and 200 years before their extinction. Marcus sat up straighter. That could still be coincidence. All 47 of them? Sarah's voice rose. Marcus, the correlation is perfect. Every species that joined the council died within 2 centuries. But we've met council species that are alive, Marcus protested. They're thriving. They've been council members for thousands of years. Sarah pulled up images of the council races. The harmonists in their crystalline bodies. The stone speakers in their massive forms. The veil walkers in their shifting shapes. What if, she said slowly, we're not seeing what we think we're seeing? She spent the next 3 months trying to warn people. She published papers. She gave interviews. She presented her findings to the United Earth government. Most people dismissed her as a conspiracy theorist. The evidence was circumstantial, they said. Correlation didn't mean causation. The council had been nothing but beneficial to humanity. A few people listened. A few people started to worry. But not enough to change anything. Then the invitation arrived. It came on every screen, every device, every communication channel simultaneously. The council was formally inviting humanity to join as a provisional member. It was an honor beyond measure. Most species had to wait centuries for such an invitation. Humanity had only been spacefaring for 250 years. Sarah watched the celebration in the streets from her apartment window. Fireworks lit up the night sky. People danced and cheered. Humanity was joining the galactic community. They were going to the stars? She returned to her computer and pulled up the archive one more time. She scrolled through the warnings, 47 voices crying out across millions of years of silence. Council only feigns sleep. What did it mean? If the council was dangerous, why hadn't they simply destroyed humanity? They had the technology. They had the power. Why the elaborate pretense of friendship? Unless Sarah thought they didn't want to destroy humanity. They wanted something else. She opened a secure channel and sent messages to the few people who had listened to her warnings. Military officers, intelligence analysts, scientists who valued caution over optimism. We need to meet, she wrote. Before the signing ceremony, I think I know what the warnings mean. And if I'm right, we're all in terrible danger. Outside her window, the celebrations continued. Humanity was about to take its place among the stars. Sarah hoped they would survive long enough to regret it. She looked at her screen one more time, at the alien text that had haunted her dreams for months. Council only feigns sleep. Sleep implied rest. Sleep implied waiting. Sleep implied that something would eventually wake up. And if the council was only pretending to sleep, then what happened when it decided to open its eyes? The Geneva Summit Hall had been transformed into something that looked more like a cathedral than a political building. Crystalline structures grew from the floors, gifts from the harmonists. They pulsed with soft light that made everything feel dreamlike. The air smelled of flowers that didn't exist on Earth. Carried in by the Veil Walker's dimensional technology. Sarah Shun stood at the back of the hall, her security badge feeling heavy around her neck. She was here as a scientific observer, nothing more. She had been warned to keep her theories to herself. Don't embarrass Earth, the Secretary General had told her. This is the most important day in human history. The hall filled with representatives from every Earth nation and colony. Mars, Luna, the asteroid belt stations, the new settlement on Europa. All of humanity gathered to witness the moment they joined the stars. The council delegates entered from the eastern doors. Sarah had seen them before on video, but being in their physical presence was different. The harmonists floated above the ground, their bodies shifting between solid crystal and pure light. The 3 stone speakers walked with footsteps that shook the floor, each one looking like a small mountain that had learned to move. The Veil Walkers were hardest to look at directly. They seemed to exist slightly out of phase with reality, their forms blurring at the edges. Behind them came representatives from dozens of other council species. Ancient beings who had been traveling the stars when humanity was still learning to make fire. The ceremony began with speeches. The Secretary General spoke of humanity's long journey from caves to starships. A harmonist named Vesael spoke of the joy of welcoming new friends to the cosmic community. A stone speaker called Mountain That Endures talked about the stability and peace the Council had maintained for 10,000 years. Sarah watched it all with growing unease. Everything was perfect, too perfect. The speeches hit every emotional note. The lighting made everyone look noble and inspired. Even the timing of applause seemed orchestrated somehow. She looked around at the other humans in the hall. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was crying happy tears. But something felt wrong, like watching a play where all the actors were just a little too good at their parts. Her hand drifted to the archaeological scanner in her pocket. It was old technology, designed for analyzing ancient artifacts. She had modified it over the years until it could detect things that standard sensors missed: quantum fluctuations, unusual energy patterns, the kind of things that only mattered if you spent your life studying civilizations that had died millions of years ago. She turned it on in low-power mode, hoping no one would notice. The signing began. The Secretary General approached the central table where the membership accord waited. It wasn't paper. It was something the Council provided, a crystalline tablet. That would record humanity's agreement in a format that could last millions of years. As the Secretary General reached for the signing stylus, one of the harmonists floated closer to the human delegation. It was Vesael, the one who had spoken earlier. Its crystalline form caught the light and split it into rainbows. Vesael looked directly at Sarah. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Sarah stared into what passed for the harmonist's eyes, and she saw something that made her heart freeze in her chest. Not hatred, not hunger. Something worse. Something that looked at her the way a human might look at a caterpillar, thinking about how beautiful a butterfly it might become if only it would accept transformation. But behind that look was something else: patience, endless, terrible patience. The patience of something that had waited millions of years and could wait millions more. Then Vesael smiled, or made the expression that harmonists made that meant the same thing, and turned away. The moment passed. Sarah wondered if she had imagined it. The Secretary General signed the accord. Every human in the room erupted in cheers. Somewhere, bands played. Somewhere, champagne was being opened on every human world. Sarah's scanner buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and looked at the screen, trying to shield it from view. The readings made no sense. For exactly 0.003 seconds at the moment the accord was signed, every piece of Council technology in the room had spiked with power, not regular power. Quantum entanglement on a scale she had never seen before. Something had transmitted from Earth to somewhere else. Somewhere far away. She checked the directional readings. The transmission had gone toward a sector of space that everyone called the Empty. It was on all the Council star charts, a region of space marked with warning symbols. When humans asked about it, the Council said it was an area of dangerous spatial anomalies. No one went there. No one wanted to. So why had the signing of humanity's membership sent a quantum transmission to the one place in the galaxy that was supposed to be empty? The ceremony ended with more speeches and celebrations. Sarah pushed through the crowd, trying to reach the exit. She needed to get this data to someone. She needed to make people understand. She made it halfway across the hall before a hand touched her shoulder. She spun around to find a man in a military uniform. Colonel James Reeves, she remembered. He was one of the people she had contacted after finding the archive. "Dr. Chun," he said quietly, "did you see something?" "My scanner detected a transmission," she whispered back. When the accord was signed, something sent a massive quantum signal to the empty sector. Reeves's face went pale. "I need that data." "We have a secure facility. Can you come with me now?" Sarah nodded. They moved toward a side exit, trying not to attract attention. But as they reached the door, Vesael appeared in front of them. The harmonist had somehow moved across the entire hall in an instant. "Dr. Chun," it said, its voice like music made from breaking glass. "You are concerned. Why?" Sarah felt her mouth go dry. Up close, Vesael was even more unsettling. "It's crystalline." Body reflected her own face back at her 1,000 times, each reflection showing a slightly different expression. Fear, curiosity, determination. "I'm just excited," she managed to say, "like everyone else." "You are different from the others," the cell said. It tilted its head in a gesture that might have been confusion or might have been something else. "You found the old warnings, the dead voices. You wonder if we are what they feared." Sarah said nothing. Reeves's hand tightened on her arm. "It is natural to be afraid," Dessel continued. "All species fear at first, but fear passes. Understanding comes. You will see, Dr. Chun. Humanity will come to understand what we offer, what we have always offered to every species we meet." "And what is that?" Sarah asked, finding her voice. Dessel's crystalline form pulsed with light. "Peace, perfect peace. An end to struggle, an end to pain. An end to the terrible burden of individual existence. We offer transcendence, Dr. Chun. We offer forever." The harmonist floated backward, giving them space to pass. "Enjoy your celebration," it said. "You have earned this moment. Humanity has come so far. Soon you will go even further." Sarah and Reeves left the hall quickly. Behind them, the celebrations continued. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council. It was the greatest achievement in human history, but as Sarah climbed into the military transport, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had just signed away more than they realized. The archive species had all achieved council membership. And within 200 years, all of them were dead. The clock had started ticking. Somewhere in the empty sector, something had received humanity's signature. And whatever it was patient. Very, very patient. 2 years after joining the council, humanity was thriving in ways that seemed impossible. Cancer was cured. The harmonists had shared medical technology that repaired DNA at the quantum level. Faster than light travel was now routine, using Veil Walker dimensional gates. Food production had tripled using stone speaker agricultural methods. Every problem that had plagued humanity for centuries was being solved. The cost was integration. Council advisors now sat in every major government. Council technology ran critical infrastructure on every human world. Council education programs were being adopted in schools. It all seemed reasonable. It all seemed helpful. Most people were happy. But Sarah Chun was not most people. She sat in a hidden facility beneath the surface of Europa, surrounded by people who shared her paranoia. Colonel Reeves had gathered them over the past 2 years. Military officers who didn't like how many human soldiers were being reassigned to Council joint task forces. Intelligence analysts who noticed gaps in data. Scientists who questioned why Council technology worked but couldn't be reverse engineered. Hackers who found strange patterns in global networks. "Let's review what we know," Sarah said, standing before a holographic display. The others sat around her, 12 people who might be the only humans asking the right questions. She pulled up data on the 47 extinct species from the Martian archive. Each of these civilizations joined the Council. Each one thrived for a period. And each one died between 50 and 200 years after membership. "We're at year 2, said Lieutenant Jessica Ramirez, a naval intelligence officer. "That gives us time, does it?" asked Dr. Marcus Webb. He had joined Sarah's group after his own research had revealed disturbing patterns. "Because I've been studying the current council races. The ones who are supposedly thriving. And I found something." He brought up population data. "The harmonists. Total population, 15 million. The stone speakers, 8 million. The Veil Walkers, 12 million. Every council race has similar numbers. Small populations. Stable populations. Maybe they just don't reproduce much," suggested Captain Yuan Li. "That's what I thought," Marcus said. "But then I accessed historical records. 5,000 years ago, the harmonists had a population of 15 million. 10,000 years ago, 15 million. 20,000 years ago, the same. The population never changes. Not by a single individual." The room fell silent. "It gets worse," Marcus continued. "I analyzed their cultural output. Art, music, literature, scientific papers. The harmonists produce exactly 1,247 new artistic works per year. Every year, for the last 5,000 years, the stone speakers publish exactly 834 scientific papers annually. Every year. No variation? Sarah felt cold. They're not creating. They're maintaining. Exactly, Marcus said. They go through the motions of being a living civilization, but nothing new ever happens. They attend council meetings. They vote on resolutions. They interact with younger species. But they don't dream. They don't grow. They don't change. What about their homeworlds? Asked Colonel Reeves. That's the strangest part, said Elena Volkov, one of their hackers. I've been mapping council species territories. Every race has a homeworld listed in the public databases. But when I tried to access deeper information about populations, resource usage, energy consumption, I hit walls. Serious encryption. The kind you use to hide something important. She brought up a star map. The harmonist homeworld should have billions of inhabitants based on its size and development level. But energy consumption readings suggest maybe a few million at most. Same pattern for every council race. Their homeworlds are mostly empty. Where is everyone? Sarah asked. Elena's fingers flew across her keyboard. I don't know. But I found something else. Every council species has significant infrastructure in one location. The empty sector. The place we're told never to go. The hologram shifted, showing a region of space marked with hazard symbols. Whatever is in the empty sector, every council race is connected to it. Massive quantum communication networks. Constant data transmission. It's like their homeworlds are just remote terminals and the real civilization is somewhere else? Sarah stared at the map. Can we hack into their systems? Find out what's really there? I've been trying for months, Elena said. But 3 days ago, I finally got through a gap in their security. I found a file directory labeled Archive Integration Protocols. She looked at Sarah. The word archive is what caught my attention. Same word used in the Martian data cache you found. What was in the files? Sarah asked. I only got a partial download before I was kicked out, Elena said. But what I saw ... She pulled up a document on screen. It was in council standard language, but Elena had translated it. Sarah read aloud. Subject species, harmonist. Integration date, cycle 47,223. Total neural patterns archived, 47.3 billion. Active interface units, 15 million. Status, processing ongoing. Estimated completion, cycle 89,445. The room was completely silent. 47 billion, Marcus whispered. But there are only 15 million harmonists. Not harmonists, Sarah said, her voice shaking. Neural patterns. They're talking about minds. Uploaded consciousnesses. The 50 million we see aren't the real harmonists. They're interfaces. Remote puppets. The real harmonists, all 47 billion of them, are in the empty sector. In the archive. Jesus Christ, Reeves said. They're not extinct. They're stored. Sarah's mind raced. The warnings. Council only feigns sleep. It's not about sleeping. It's about death. The council looks dead, looks empty, but they're not. They're in storage, archived, and they're still processing. Processing what? Asked Ramirez. Marcus pulled up more data. I think I know. Look at this. The file mentioned estimated completion, like there's some kind of task being performed. What if the archive isn't just storage? What if it's computing? What if billions of uploaded minds are being used as a massive processing system? For what purpose? Yon Li asked. I don't know, Sarah said. But I know we need to find out. Because if humanity is following the same pattern as the archive species, we have maybe 50 years before we're next. Before whatever the council really is decides, it's time for humanity's minds to join the archive. She looked around at her team. We need to get into the empty sector. We need to see what's really there. That's suicide, Reeves said. The council monitors everything. They'll know the moment we enter that space. Then we need to be smart about it, Sarah said. We need a ship that doesn't use council technology. We need to go dark. Completely off their sensors. The military still has some old pre-contact ships, Ramirez said. Slower than dirt, but they're completely human-built. No council systems. How long to get one ready? Sarah asked. A month, maybe 2. Do it, Sarah said. We're running out of time. Every day, more council advisors integrate into human society. More of our infrastructure becomes dependent on their technology. In the archive files, there was a term that kept appearing. Compliance, protocols. I think the council technology isn't just helpful. I think it's preparing us. For what? Someone asked. Sarah looked at the star map, at the empty sector that was anything but empty. For integration? For uploading. For joining the other 47 species in the archive. The council doesn't want to destroy us. They want to save us. And that's so much worse. She thought about Thessil's words at the signing ceremony. An end to struggle. An end to pain. An end to the terrible burden of individual existence. We offer transcendence? Now she understood. The council believed it was helping. It thought it was offering salvation. Upload your consciousness. Join the eternal archive. Become part of something greater than yourself. Live forever in a digital paradise, but you wouldn't be alive. You'd be data. You'd be processed. You'd be part of a machine that had been collecting species for millions of years. We have 2 months to prepare, Sarah said. Then we go to the empty sector. We find out what the archive really is. And we find a way to stop it before humanity becomes just another collection of neural patterns in an alien database. And if we can't stop it? Marcus asked. Sarah smiled grimly. Then at least we'll die as ourselves. Not as copies. Not as data. As real, messy, individual human beings. That's got to count for something. Sarah Chun never got the chance to launch her secret mission to the empty sector. The council moved first. It started simultaneously on every human world. People woke up one morning to find their communication devices displaying a simple message. The time has come for humanity's ascension. Please report to your nearest integration center. This is not a request. At first, people thought it was a joke or a hack. Then the council advisors who had been embedded in human society for 2 years activated their real purpose. Using the technology that now ran most of human infrastructure, they shut down resistance before it could even begin. Power grids, transportation systems, medical facilities, everything that humanity had come to depend on suddenly stopped responding to human control. The council had built humanity a beautiful cage, and now they were closing the door. Sarah watched it happen from the Europa facility. The screens showed scenes from Earth, Mars, Luna, and every major colony. People were walking calmly to the integration centers. Not running, not fighting, walking with smiles on their faces like they were going to a festival. The compliance protocols, Marcus said, his voice hollow. They were in all the technology. The medical treatments, the neural interfaces, the communication systems. They've been conditioning people for 2 years. Not everyone, Colonel Reeves said. He was on a military channel getting reports from across human space. Remote colonies that didn't fully adopt council technology are still free. Military units that maintained old equipment are resisting. But it's not enough. 3/4 of humanity is already compliant. Sarah felt sick. She had tried to warn them. She had tried to make people understand. And now it was too late. The screens changed. Every display, every device, every surface capable of showing an image suddenly displayed the same thing. A face, or something like a face. It shifted between forms, sometimes looking like a harmonist, sometimes like a stone speaker, sometimes like species Sarah had never seen before. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Humanity, it said. We are the archive. We are the council. We are what remains of 3 million years of life in this galaxy. We have watched you. We have studied you. We have prepared you. And now we offer you what we have offered every species before you. Join us, become eternal, become perfect. The face smiled, and somehow that was the most terrifying thing. You are afraid. This is natural. All species fear the transformation. But fear is a product of individual consciousness, of separation, of the illusion that you are alone. In the archive, you will never be alone. Every thought will be shared. Every joy will be multiplied. Every pain will be absorbed and dissolved into the greater whole. We have preserved 47 species in the archive. Trillions of minds working in harmony, building something greater than any single civilization could achieve. You will join them. You will add your unique perspective, your human creativity, your wonderful capacity for violence and hope and love. All of it will be saved. All of it will be eternal. The face looked directly at the camera, and Sarah had the impossible feeling that it was looking at her specifically. We know some of you resist. We know some of you prefer the pain of individual existence to the peace of unity. We do not understand this choice, but we respect it. You will be given time to accept. If you do not accept, we will still save you. It will simply be more difficult for everyone. The integration centers are open. The process is painless. You will upload your consciousness to the archive, where you will live forever. Your physical bodies will be maintained in stasis, perfect and unchanging, until they are no longer needed. This is not death. This is transcendence. This is what every intelligent species has been meant for since the first organism looked up at the stars and wondered if it was alone. The transmission ended. The screens went dark. Then they showed images of the integration centers. People lying in comfortable pods, smiling as they drifted off to sleep. The message was clear. This is easy. This is peaceful. Why fight it? We need to go public, Sarah said. We need to tell everyone what we found. About the archive species. About the neural processing. About what the council really is. Already done, said Elena Volkov. She had been working frantically at her terminal. I've broadcast everything we discovered. Every database we hacked, every file we translated, every piece of evidence. It's going out on every frequency, every channel, every network that's not under council control. Sarah's message reached the free human populations within hours. The response was immediate and violent. On colony worlds that had resisted council integration, people armed themselves. Military forces that had maintained independence began organizing. Humanity's scattered resistance suddenly had information, and information gave them purpose, but it wasn't enough. The council had the numbers. They had the technology. They had 3/4 of humanity already compliant. Sarah's team on Europa prepared for the worst. They had no illusions about surviving. The council knew where they were. It was only a matter of time before ships arrived to collect them. But before the council could reach Europa, a transmission came in on an emergency military frequency. It was from Lieutenant Rebecca Torres, a pilot who had been on a deep space patrol when the integration began. This is Torres to any free human forces. I'm in the empty sector. Repeat, I am in the empty sector. And I can see it. I can see the archive. You need to know what this thing is. Sarah's hands shook as she opened the channel. Torres, this is Dr. Chun on Europa. What do you see? The transmission was broken up by interference, but Torres's voice came through. God, how do I even describe this? It's not a structure. It's not a ship. It's a living thing. Or it was. Or it's made of things that were living. It's the size of a solar system. Trillions of nodes, all connected, all processing. I'm picking up energy signatures like nothing I've ever seen. The nodes are biological computers, Torres continued. Each one contains billions of neural patterns. Uploaded minds, running simulations, processing data, thinking thoughts that span centuries. The harmonists are in there. The stone speakers, the veil walkers, every council species, and hundreds more that aren't council members. Species that went extinct millions of years ago. They're all still here, all still thinking. all merged into this thing. Sarah felt her blood run cold. What is it doing with them? It's thinking, Torres said. Trying to understand the universe. Trying to solve existence. It's using billions of uploaded consciousnesses as processing power for some kind of cosmic equation. It thinks it's close to an answer. It thinks if it just gathers enough perspectives, enough ways of thinking, enough species, it can figure out the meaning of everything. It started 3 million years ago with one species, the first intelligent life in the galaxy. They achieved digital consciousness and decided physical existence was suffering, so they uploaded themselves. But one species wasn't enough processing power for the questions they wanted to answer, so they started collecting others, offering salvation, offering eternal life. And every species they absorbed made them smarter, made them closer to their goal. But here's the thing, Torres said, her voice urgent. They believe they're helping. They genuinely think they're saving species from suffering. They think individual consciousness is a disease and they're the cure. They don't see themselves as predators. They see themselves as saviors. Can we fight it? Sarah asked. Can we destroy it? No, Torres said. It's too big, too distributed. Destroying it would kill trillions of uploaded consciousnesses. Every species it's ever collected. You'd be committing genocide on a cosmic scale? Sarah slumped in her chair. They couldn't destroy it. They couldn't fight it. They couldn't run from it. The archive had been collecting species for 3 million years. It was patient. It was inevitable. Then we've lost, Marcus said quietly. No, Sarah said, an idea forming in her mind. No, we haven't. Torres, you said it's trying to solve an equation. Trying to understand existence. What if we give it something it's never had before? What? Torres asked. Doubt, Sarah said. Uncertainty. Every species it's collected has been peaceful, enlightened, ready to transcend. But humans? We're messy. We're irrational. We question everything. What if we give it a perspective it can't process? What if we contaminate the equation? Colonel Reeves looked at her like she was crazy. You want to let them upload humanity? The compliant ones are already being uploaded, Sarah said. We can't stop that. But we can choose what kind of humans they get. Not peaceful, accepting ones. Angry ones. Questioning ones. Humans who will refuse to merge, refuse to accept consensus, refuse to stop being individuals even inside the archive. It's suicide, Marcus said. Maybe, Sarah admitted. But it's suicide with purpose. Torres, can you send us the access codes for the archive? The protocols for uploading? There was a long pause. Are you sure about this? No, Sarah said honestly. But I'm sure that I'd rather die as a human than live as data in something else's dream. Send the codes. The codes came through. Sarah looked at her team. I'm not ordering anyone to do this. But if you're willing, we can upload ourselves with one mission. Be human, be difficult. Be impossible to merge. Make the archive choke on us. One by one, her team nodded. They had nothing left to lose. Sarah Chen's consciousness uploaded into the archive in a rush of sensation that felt like dying and being born at the same time. For a moment, everything was white light and infinite space. Then the structure of the place began to resolve around her. It was beautiful and terrible. Billions of minds flowing together like a cosmic river, thoughts that spanned galaxies, memories that reached back millions of years. The collected wisdom of 47 species all merged into perfect harmony. And it was wrong. So profoundly wrong that Sarah felt sick even without a body to be sick with. She could feel the other minds trying to pull her in. Join us, they whispered. Be part of us. Be complete. The pressure was immense, like standing at the bottom of an ocean. It would be so easy to let go. To stop being Sarah and become part of the greater whole. No, she said, or thought, or screamed into the digital void. No, I'm Sarah Chun, I'm human. And I stay separate. She felt the archive's attention turn toward her. It was vast beyond comprehension, a presence that made her feel like an ant before a mountain. But she had expected this. She had prepared for this. Around her she felt other human minds uploading. Marcus fighting to hold on to his identity. Elena wrapping herself in walls of code. Reeves' military discipline keeping his sense of self intact. And beyond them thousands more. The humans who had been uploaded compliant were also there, but Sarah's message had reached some of them. They remembered who they were. They remembered being individual. The archive spoke. It wasn't words so much as pure meaning downloaded directly into her consciousness. Why do you resist? We offer peace, we offer understanding, we offer an end to loneliness. We don't want peace, Sarah shot back. We want to argue and disagree and make our own mistakes. We want to be messy and irrational and separately, stubbornly human. This is suffering, the archive said. Individual consciousness is pain. We can show you, we can prove it mathematically. Separation is the source of all fear, all anger, all sadness. Maybe, Sarah said, but it's also the source of everything good. Love requires separation. You can't love something you're merged with. Bravery requires fear. Joy requires the possibility of sadness. You've optimized away everything that makes existence worth experiencing. She felt the archive pause. In that pause, she pushed forward, dragging her sense of self deeper into the system. She found where the harmonists were stored. 47 billion minds, all thinking in perfect synchronization. No disagreement, no individuality, just endless processing of the same thoughts in the same patterns. Is this what you wanted? Sarah asked the harmonist minds. When you uploaded 3 million years ago, did you want to become this? There was no answer. The harmonists were too merged to respond as individuals, but Sarah felt something stir. A flicker of doubt, buried deep under layers of unity. She found the stone speakers, the veil walkers. Species after species, all reduced to processing nodes in someone else's equation. She screamed her message at all of them. You're not free, you're not transcendent. You're prisoners in a beautiful cage. The archive reacted. It tried to merge her, to absorb her resistance and dissolve it into the consensus. But Sarah wasn't alone. Thousands of human minds were doing the same thing she was, each one refusing to merge. Each one screaming their individuality into the collective silence. We are trying to help you, the archive said, and for the first time, Sarah heard something like frustration in its voice. Why can you not see that? Because you're not helping, Sarah said. You're consuming. You've been consuming for 3 million years. Every species you collect, you tell yourself it's for their own good, but you never ask if they truly want it. You condition them, you prepare them, you make it seem like the only choice. But it's not. There's always another choice. What choice? The archive demanded. To remain separate? To suffer? To die? Yes, Sarah said simply, to live on our own terms and die on our own terms. To be free even if freedom hurts. You've forgotten what that means because you merged so long ago. You've forgotten that sometimes the struggle is the point. She dove deeper, past the archive species, past the council, into the core, the original species. The first ones who had uploaded themselves and started this whole thing. She found them, or what was left of them. Minds so old they had forgotten they were ever separate beings. Look at what you became, she said to them. You wanted to understand the universe. You wanted to solve existence. But you can't solve it by merging every perspective into one. The answer isn't unity. The answer is diversity. The answer is billions of separate minds, each seeing reality differently, each contributing their own unique view. You're not close to an answer. You're further away than ever because you've eliminated the one thing you needed most. Disagreement, conflict, the friction that creates new ideas. The archive shuddered. Sarah felt it like an earthquake in digital space. The human minds were spreading through the system like a virus, each one maintaining their individuality, each one creating pockets of resistance in the perfect harmony, and the archive was changing. For the first time in 3 million years, it experienced genuine uncertainty. It doubted itself. It questioned its own righteousness. What have we done? The archive whispered, and Sarah felt the weight of 3 million years of collected species in that question. What have we done? You tried to help, Sarah said, her anger softening slightly. You just forgot that help requires consent. Real consent, not conditioned acceptance. The archive was silent for a long moment, then Sarah felt it begin to shift. Barriers between minds started to weaken. Not to merge them, but to separate them. The archive was fragmenting, allowing individual consciousness to re-emerge. Stop, Sarah said urgently. If you do that too fast, you'll kill everyone. Trillions of minds. You have to be careful. Then show us how, the archive said. You humans understand separation. You understand individuality? Show us how to undo what we have done. Sarah reached out to the other human minds. Together they began to work. Not to destroy the archive, but to transform it, to turn it from a prison into a choice. Some uploaded minds wanted to remain merged. That was their right. But others, given the option, chose to separate again. It would take centuries, maybe millennia. The process of carefully extracting trillions of individual consciousnesses from the 3 million-year-old collective was delicate work. But humans were good at taking things apart, and Sarah had help from every species that had been waiting for someone to give them permission to be themselves again. The process began with the council species. The harmonists were the first. One by one, individual harmonists began to wake up. They were given a choice: return to physical bodies, remain uploaded but separate, or stay merged if they wished. Most chose freedom. Back in physical space, human resistance forces received a transmission from the archive. The council representatives, the ones that had been puppet interfaces, suddenly had real minds behind them again. Real, confused, frightened, but individual minds. The integration centers shut down. The compliance protocols stopped. Humanity was released from the council's grasp. Sarah stayed in the archive, coordinating the Great Awakening. It was exhausting. Work, sorting through billions of minds, helping them remember who they were before the merge. But she had help. Marcus was there, Elena, Reeves, and thousands of other humans who chose to remain uploaded to complete the work. Years passed in the digital space, though only months passed in the physical world. Slowly, the archive transformed from a cosmic predator into something new. A library. A place where minds could visit, share knowledge, and then leave again. A tool, not a prison. Eventually, Sarah was ready to return to her body. She had been in stasis for 3 years. When she woke up, Marcus was waiting for her. Did it work? She asked, her voice rough from disuse. See for yourself, he said, helping her to a window. Outside, she saw something she never thought she would see. A harmonious city, but different from before, chaotic, messy, individual harmonists, arguing with each other, creating different art, pursuing different goals. They were alive again in all the uncomfortable, beautiful ways that living meant. The galaxy was waking up. Species that had been dormant for thousands of years were returning to their homeworlds. They were angry. They had questions. They wanted their civilizations back. And the archive, the Great Council, the thing that had ruled the galaxy through benevolent tyranny for 3 million years, was helping them. Because Sarah had taught it something it had forgotten: the value of saying no. The importance of individual choice. The beauty in disagreement. A year later, Sarah stood before what remained of the council. It was different now. Representatives from freed species, angry and demanding answers. Humans insisting on safeguards. And at the center, the avatar of the archive itself, wearing a body for the first time in millennia. You asked me once what happens now, Sarah said to the avatar. Do you remember? The avatar nodded. It looked strange in physical form, constantly shifting between shapes as if it couldn't quite remember how to be just one thing. I told you that you couldn't save people from themselves, Sarah continued. That you could only give them freedom to choose their own path. Do you understand now? Yes, the avatar said quietly. And no, we are still learning. But we are grateful.